In today's tutorial, I'm going over how to make side-scrollers in UEFN. I'll be showing you all the different ways you can make a side-scroller, also even how to get your side-scroller looking like this. So let's get right to it. To get started with side-scrollers, go into Conjure and search up side-scroller. And you need to get the control side-scroller device, and we'll bring it out here. Now this device is very useful, as this will create the controls needed for the left and right movement of, like, a usual side-scroller. Now if you look at it in game, you're gonna see a little arrow. Now that arrow is the plane of where you move back and forth on. If your side scroll is going this way or that way, the player will walk along this plane and back this way. So that's why you want your side scroller to be. Now, just as an example, I'm going to create a little course. And there we go. Here's a beautiful little course I made. Now, if you see this arrow, as I said earlier, it's on this plane. So if wherever the player is, they'll be forced to walk only into this direction or backwards. But if I were to change this arrow to be like this direction, you can only walk back and forth this way. So it's very important that you put this arrow where you need it. Now to go over, here's some settings of the device. Now, priority basically means that this is the priority of the device. So let's say if I had 3 side-scroller devices and they all do different control kind of schemes. I can give the first one priority 0, the second one priority 1, and then priority 2. And a priority, the way it works is that it prioritizes the lowest number. So 0 will be the one that's going to be the highest priority. Let's say if 0 got disabled by, using disable, we're going to go into 1. And let's say if 1 got disabled and you're still in 0, if 0 gets disabled, you're going to go all the way down to 2. So you're going to pick the lowest priority possible. Now, a few more settings is add players on game start is pretty simple. It's to give the players the control scheme on game start. Remove elimination means that if the player dies, does it get removed from them? Usually you want this off. Enable during phase is useful if you want to enable and disable different kinds of side-scroller devices. So you can turn that on or off if you want. Now in locomotion, you can constrain the movement. Basically what this does is constrains the forward movement of the player to the forward axis of the device. Now to show you the difference between the controls, you're going to notice when constrain is on, I'm blocked to this axis, which is the arrow on the device. But if I turn this option off, you're going to notice now I can go forward and back now. So it's still side-scrolling, but it's 3D-ish, if that makes sense. So let's say if you want to add a secret room hidden behind a wall or something, you can do it with using this option. You're probably wondering why the camera is so zoomed in and how I can rotate it, and it kind of messes up everything. I'll go over that in a minute. I'm just going to show you more settings. To just continue on, movement speed multiplier basically makes it so it multiplies your speed. So I can make 2 times speed up to all the way up to 3 times speed. Movement speed multiplier when shooting is when you shoot. So maybe you want to shoot when you shoot a gun, you go slower, and also with aiming. Now targeting assistance is basically when you're trying to shoot. So if I was in game and if I was trying to shoot, I can only shoot in 2 directions, which is forward and back. Targeting assistance basically adds a auto lock if you want. You can give targeting prioritization, so players are the highest priority, then creatures are half, and then vehicles are 0.3. You can change this how you like, and also you can scale the weight by distance, so further things away, they get lower and lower the further away. You can also do scale weight by angle too. Now targeting lock-on, you can make it so it's off, or you can make it always. Shooting, so it's only when you shoot, it's gonna lock on. If you have aiming on, it's only gonna lock on when you aim, and you can also do a shooting or aiming, so it's both. The target retention duration is how long it takes for the player to lock on, so you can change this to make it longer if you want. Range targeting distance is how far away from the player do you lock on, and range targeting height is how high up from the player do they lock on. And also the targeting angle, which is also a cutoff point to where the target isn't allowed. It's 85 right now, so something that's directly above this, you can't target on because it's only up to 85 degrees, which is about here somewhere. So the player won't be able to lock onto them. You can also disable or turn this on for aiming as well. If you turn this off, it's just gonna always just do the same with this. And then required target line of sight is, does the player need a line of sight towards the target to be able to lock onto them? So if there was something behind a wall like here and the player can't see them, would this be able to lock on or not? You can also change the team effects. Yeah, you can also invert that, and also classes as well. And in the functions, you can enable, disable, you can also add to player, remove from player, you can add to all players, and you can also remove from all players. Now remember, add to player and remove from player are instigator functions, so you need an instigator to use these. It's only going to do the player that hits a trigger, so it won't do all players, it's only going to do the player who activated the function, which is the instigator. navigator, and all is just going to be every single player. Doesn't matter. Same thing with remove from player and remove from all. You're probably noticing that in this device, the camera's a bit close. So how do we make it so it's more of side-scrolly? So we're going to another device. It's going to here on Fortnite and search of camera fixed angle, and that's what we need for the fixed angle. You're gonna notice it's gonna do this. So I have a full video on the fixed angle, so I'm not gonna get fully into it in this, but you can use this to make side scrollers. So what I want to do is we want to make it so as player on game start or not, we can change the field of view of it. We can change the distance. So if you want your side scroller to be a bit further away or closer, you can do that. To actually get a side scroller, you can change. You want to make the angle pitch 0 and then angle yaw maybe about 90, and now we have a side scroller. And now with that, again, you can change the distance, so you know how further away it is, and you can also change the field of view, so it's further or inner. You can also change the offset. This is an offset Y, which is I'm going to do an offset of 300, so it's like that. Now there's all these settings, transition on all this. I go over it in my other tutorial, and one of the important ones is boom collision. And basically the way this will work is that there's 3 different kinds of collision. There's instant, there's predictive, and there's transparency. I'm going to show you the difference between all of these. Okay, now you're going to notice a few things. So this is with instant. If I walk in front of the wall, as you can see, it's going to zoom in. Okay? If you imagine a line coming from the camera to my character, if that line gets interrupted, it's going to go closer. And the way it's working is that it's instant, so it's going to go instantly in. Like as you can see, there's literally instant. It goes in instant, then it's going to smooth out, instant, smooth out, instant, smooth out, etc. Now the reason why it smooths out is because we have collision out time. If you turn this on to 0 seconds, it's just going to go instant. So for example, this is no out time. As you can see, it goes in out instantly. There's no like zoom out. Now predictive will add in a new option for collision in time. So if you wanted to, you can have the camera zoom in and zoom out if the character is looking like it's occluded by an object. So if I walk in front of this, you're going to notice it's going to zoom in and then zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. So it's a bit different. The last thing here is transparency. And now transparency works different to both of these. Basically what this is going to do is that it's going to make a circle that you can see your player with. So instead of moving the camera, this doesn't move the camera at all. It makes a circle that you can see your player with. And it's going to make transparency. And it's going to make the object it's looking through transparent. And there's a few options here. There's transparency collision radius. So this is the radius from this line out. Where will the transparency begin in its circle? So if you want to make it like, you know, pretty accurate, you make it 0, or if you can make it 5 meters if you want, then that starts pretty far away. Transparency amount is how transparent it is. 0 would be like clear, see-through, and then 1 would be fully transparent. So it makes sense. And then transparency cutout radius is the radius of the circle it's going to cut out. So you're going to see that in a minute. So if I walk in front of this, you're going to notice it's now going to, as you can see, it's going to make the objects in front of me transparent. That's what transparency amount 0. So you can make it so maybe it's transparency about 5. And you're going to notice with this, it's not going to fully like disappear the object. It's going to make a little circle. And as you can see, now I'm kind of like inside of it. So you can see me behind it. That makes sense. And then last option is we can put transparency to 1. With transparency to 1, it's gonna make whatever object it's in front of mostly transparent. It's obviously a bit not perfect, but it's not bad either. And also transparency collision radius. So if I put this down to 0, you're gonna notice now that it's extremely accurate. So only when I'm ever in front of it, it's gonna start. And then cutout radius is the radius of the circle of the cutout. So I'm gonna put this to 300. And if I go in front of these objects, you're gonna see that the circle is a lot bigger now. It's better with this big one back here. You're going to see it better. Now the circle is a lot bigger. Another useful one for side scrollers is Deadzone. Basically what this can do is the camera will only move if the player is in like a certain area of the screen. So what we can do is we can make a rectangle Deadzone. I might make the height about 500, and then the width will be 500, and the depth will be 500. Okay, now you're going to notice that the camera's going to work a little bit differently with dead zones. Now if I reach the middle of the camera, I can kind of walk a bit further. This is kind of offset. It's not perfectly in the center. So the dead zone's kind of, I'm going to put a rectangle on the screen showing the dead zone. So I kind of move back. That's kind of what dead zones do. So you want to turn it on, you can if you want. Now there's one last little option you can use for side scrollers, and it's in the fixed angle camera. Inside the fixed angle camera, there's a little option, and it's right here called projection mode. And you can do perspective or orthographic. And perspective basically is it's like what we have now. If you look here, this will be perspective camera. But if I turn on orthographic, as you can see by this, it's going to make the entire thing project in 2D, if that makes sense. A projection width is just the size of the projection. So now you're going to notice now it's basically 2D, like it's fully flat now. So now if I were to start the game, we're going to notice how Now it's like hyper, it's like super flat now. It's basically like 2D. This is a cool way to make something like, you know, 2D. So yeah, that's about it for side scrollers. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, subscribe, and use my code in the Fortnite item shop. And watch all of these videos for more of my content. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's about it. I'll see you in the next one.